their version of divine guidance at a time when they felt most in need of support and direction. 7. During the Hellenistic period, currents of Judaism were influenced by Hellenistic philosophy developed from the 3rd century BCE, notably the Jewish diaspora in Alexandria, culminating in the compilation of the Septuagint. An important advocate of the symbiosis of Jewish theology and Hellenistic thought is Philo. The growing influence of Hellenism in Judaism became a source of dissent for some Jews. This was a major catalyst for the Maccabean revolt. The sects of the Pharisees and Sadducees were formed, according to most scholars, around the mid-2nd century BCE. It is thought that the mystic sect of the Judean desert, most likely the Essenes, was founded in the 2nd-3rd of the 2nd century BCE. The sect serves as a useful illustration of the profound impact these years had on the emergence of new patterns, beliefs, and lifestyles. The sect members' flight into the desert was a direct protest against what was taking place in Jerusalem at the time. The emergence of a new leadership in the city, a leadership that would shape the course of Jewish history for more than a century, is what led to the cult's estrangement and alienation. 95. From c. 170 BCE to 30 CE, 5 successive generations of Zugot, pairs of leaders headed the Jews' spiritual affairs. A number of messianic ideas developed during the later Second Temple period. Christianity first emerged as a Second Temple Judaic sect in the 1st century Hellenistic Judaism in Roman Judea. Jesus of Nazareth was a 1st century Jewish preacher and religious leader. 96. After his death, his apostles and their followers spread around the Levant, Europe, Anatolia, Mesopotamia, the South Caucasus, Egypt, and Ethiopia despite initial persecution. It soon attracted Gentile God-fearers, which led to a departure from Jewish customs, and, after the fall of Jerusalem which ended the temple-based Judaism, Christianity slowly separated from Judaism. Literature. The religious literature of the Second Temple period can be split into 3 categories: the Apocrypha and Pseudepigrapha, the literature of the Greek-speaking diaspora, and the Dead Sea Scrolls. The first 2 categories were preserved by Christians, while the third one was discovered in the 20th century in the Qumran caves. 97. The Apocrypha, hidden books, were accepted as canonical scripture by various Christian denominations and includes books like 1-4 Maccabees, Sirach, Wisdom of Solomon, Baruch, the Letter of Jeremiah, Tobit and Judith, along with 1-2 Esdras and Prayer of Manus, which are not considered as canonical by any church. The Pseudepigrapha, false superscription, include books attributed to well-known biblical figures, including Enoch, Abraham, Moses and others. The Dead Sea Scrolls are generally believed to be the library of a mystic sectarian community that lived at Qumran, most likely the Essenes. Together with few books from the first 2 categories, it also contains other writings including the Community Rule, the Damascus Document, the Temple Scroll, the War Scroll, the Thanksgiving Hymns, the Pesherim, and Others. 97. A 4th category would be some parts of the Hebrew Bible that were composed during the Second Temple period, including the prophetic books of Zechariah, Haggai, Malachi, Joel, and parts of Isaiah, 24-7, 56-66, all dating from the Persian period, along extensive portions of the Ketuvim. However, these books are typically included in scholarship as part of the Second Temple period literature. 97. Economy. Agriculture. Almost all of the national Jewish economy's needs during the Second Temple period were met domestically. There was virtually little exporting or importing. 98. Agriculture played a significant role in economic life. Josephus explains why earlier texts did not mention Jews by stating that as for ourselves, Therefore, we neither inhabit a maritime country, nor do we delight in merchandise, nor in such a mixture with other men as arises from it. But the cities we dwell in are remote from the sea, and having a fruitful country for our habitation, we take pains in cultivating that only. 99, 98. It is believed that the majority of Judea's farmland was used to grow grain, predominantly wheat but also hardier but less popular barley in drier areas. Archaeologists have found numerous olive and wine necklaces indicating the importance of these products as well. Rabbinic literature, Josephus' writings, and the New Testament further reveal that herbs, garden vegetables, and legumes were also grown. Legumes were especially important, because they could be stored for a long time and frequently flourished in years when other crops failed. 100. Sources from the late 1st and early 2nd century CE indicate that rice was introduced to Palestine by Jewish farmers during the early Roman period. The local crop was fine, large kernel rice. 101. The main products of livestock were milk, butter, and cheese, albeit these foods made up a small portion of diet, wool, and food for the Roman army, whose diet, unusually for the time period, included a daily ration of meat. There was also fish, probably generally pickled, though not in great quantities. The Galilean city of Tarichae, located along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, got its name from Greek, pickled fish. 100. A few small areas in the province dedicated to the cultivation of cash crops. A famous example is the balsam plantations around Jericho. Josephus also indicates that in his day, the olive was extensively grown in some parts of Upper Galilee, and that its oil was occasionally sold to neighboring cities. 100. Import and export. There are several sources that do suggest there may have been a limited amount of importing. Wheat imports are mentioned in Mark's Shire in 3:4, and the rabbis ruling that imported pottery and glass were ritually impure also seems to suggest that these products were brought into the region. The Hellenistic period. Hephzibah inscription demonstrates that there was some exchange of goods among the local communities and there may have even been some export. It is also possible that the area served as a form of commerce enclave, as balsam and dates from the Jericho area were sold outside the area, and it is obvious that the locals there were not self-sufficient in other ways. 98. But, when looking at the overall economic picture, the scale of imports and exports was insignificant. For instance, the Romans imposed a yearly land tax and harbor tax on Hyrcanus in the sum of 20,665 modia, or around 135.5 tons of wheat for Joppa. A levy of 135.5 tons of wheat was absurdly low considering Joppa was the main Jewish port, indicating that the city only exported a little amount of goods. 98. According to Josephus, the main commercial hubs were the Phoenician coastal cities. They took part in international trade in the Mediterranean Sea and reportedly served as the main ports for the land of Israel's meager import and export requirements. Some of those cities were conquered by the Hasmoneans. While they may not have been completely abandoned, their economic situation and prestige degraded. During this period, only Ascalon remained an independent city, and Joppa continued to function as a small harbor city. The Phoenician coastal cities prospered once more and resumed their status as economic hubs after the Romans seized Palestine. 98. Importing food was important at times of drought or famine, as it was during the time of Herod, 102, and Helena. 103, 98. Nonetheless, as is evident from the Testament of Job, 104, trading at this time was often a characteristic of the coastal cities. 98. Goods. Hervatitri, a Parshalaya constructed village of the Second Temple period, a rock-cut wine press at Hervatitri, Jerusalem during the late Second Temple period was a significant center of consumption at this time. This economic center developed to meet the needs of both the Templin pilgrims, as well as those of the locals who did not work in agriculture. 98, 105. Doves were raised in the Judean lowlands and sent to the temple. 98. The locations from which the temple received high-quality agricultural items are listed in the Mishnah's Menachot tractate. The highest quality fine flour was transported from farms in Michmas and Zonicha, now Zanoah. The Ephraim flour came in second. Olive trees near Tycho of Galilee served as the temple's main source of olive oil. Regev in the Transjordan came in second. Keruthim, Kerathim, and Hatalim were the main producers of wine, followed by Beit Rima, now Bani Zaid al-Garbia, Beit Lavan, now Al-Lavan al-Garbi, and Kfar Signa, in the Lower Galilee. 106. Language Overview. Judea's linguistic situation during the Second Temple period is defined by the coexistence of two spoken languages, Aramaic and Hebrew. 107. The meaning of the population's bilingualism is debated. Opinions differ on whether speakers express themselves equally in Hebrew or Aramaic, or whether one language is preferred over the other depending on region. Aramaic became widely spoken in Samaria and Galilee.
Yes, we need to stop because the camcorder is out of power. The camcorder is 90 minutes. It's just to split. So, and we have the news in Danish television in a few minutes. So I'm sorry for I have to read again because I got a lot of text messages on my cell phone. I had to reply and I cannot, because it's not my language. English is not my language, so I cannot typing on my cell phone and listen to English same time. I can do that in my own language, Danish, but not in English. I have to listen to the text.